Hey everyone, Fadi here. Are you ready to take your architectural renderings to the next level? Today I am going to show you how mastering Vray for Revit can not only speed up your render times but also maintain top-notch quality. Imagine this, you're working on a tight deadline and your client is eagerly waiting for that stunning 3D visualization. You don't have days to waste on rendering. This is where Vray for Revit comes in. It's a powerful rendering engine designed specifically to supercharge your workflow. And the best part, you don't have to sacrifice quality for speed. First things first, let's talk about why Vray for Revit is a game changer. It's built to integrate seamlessly with Revit, allowing you to leverage your existing models without a hitch. No more exporting and importing between different software. Everything you need is right there in one place. Now, if you're like me, you probably love those jaw-dropping renderings that make your designs come alive. Vray for Revit gives you photorealistic results thanks to its advanced lighting, shading, and material options. But here's the kicker, it does all this while optimizing your computer's performance. So you can render faster and keep working on other tasks simultaneously. Let's dive into some pro tips to get the most out of Vray for Revit. Tip number 1. Use Vray's GPU rendering capabilities. By harnessing the power of your graphic card, you can significantly cut down render times. Just make sure your GPU is up to the task. Tip number 2. Leverage Vray's denoiser tool. This magic feature helps reduce noise in your images, giving you cleaner and more refined results with less rendering time. Plus, it works post-rendering, so you can tweak your images to perfection. And finally, tip number 3, take advantage of Vray's proxy objects. These allow you to manage large scenes with tons of geometry without bogging down your system. It's like having a secret weapon in your rendering arsenal. So there you have it. With Vray for Revit, you can boost your render speed, maintain high quality visuals, and impress your clients, all while staying within your project timeline. If you found these tips helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more awesome content. Until next time, keep creating and innovating. In order to install Vray for Revit, I will go to Google and write Vray for Revit 2025, and I will get this link, Vray for Revit free download. You can click on it, and by this way it will be transfer us to the gauss.com Vray Revit free trial. So you can download here a free trial for 30 days, and you can now, by clicking here, came to another page, start your trial. But if you haven't an account, you have to create an account here, and it is an educational account. So because I have already downloaded the Vray, I will not be able to download now, but if you have create a new account, you will have the opportunity to install it. So I have license here, so give me a manager license so I can go and access to my license for Revit for Vray. So as you see, I have one account of a Gauss free trial, and I can also download it again. So you can choose Vray for Revit for the product and what is the version that you have, and then you have this Vray. By clicking on download, you can download the file that we will install on our local machine. After we download the file from the website of gaussgroup.com, we have the file here in our downloads. So by right click on this file, we can choose Run as Administrator and start installing Vray 6 for Revit. So we will wait a while here to have the installation correctly to our Revit program. It's easy like any program. You can follow the instruction and then install Revit. You can install the Vray on your program. So as you see here, the screen will appear for Gauss Vray, and we will follow the instructions here to install it. Once this appears, you have to agree for this agreement. So click I agree, and because I have Revit 2025, it will automatically give me. If I have another versions on my PC, it will give me that if I want to install Vray also for the other versions, it will give you from Revit 2019 to 2025. So I will go ahead. Maybe you can click on the advanced, but don't play with that. Click on install, and here it is asking me for the license. Choose local to use license directly on your system or remote for network license. No, I want to use it as a local, and I will click on install. So it will start installing the Vray for Revit. Now as you see, it's easy, just you have to follow the steps that it gives to you. I have accelerated the process now, and I think everything is okay. So it will give you that Vray 6 is ready. Thank you for choosing Vray. Now go render something awesome. Okay, let's click on done, and by this way I think that Vray is ready to use, and see you in next tutorial to start journey about how to render using Vray for Revit. Thank you and see you. Once you open Revit for the first time, you install Vray, it will ask you that if you want to load the plugin or not. So this message will appear to you. This signed add-in has been found. What do you want to do? So I will go with the option of always load, and by this way it will load the plugin to the add-ins to the Revit program. So as you see here, the Vray was added to the tabs here. So now let's have a look about Vray. In this lecture we will just move on these components of Vray. So once we open the Revit, we can see that Vray here was added. The first thing that we have to do is to enable Vray. So I have to click here on enable Vray because Vray is not enabled. It will give me a message here, unable to obtain Vray Revit license, please update the license. So it will automatically open the server here via internet. It is not. Let's see what is the license. So once enabled, as you see, we can see that we have some tabs here. So let's have a look about these tabs and see what is the function of each of them in Vray. The first tab that we have is the view. If I click in view, you can see that it will give me the 3D views in this project. So there have been some 3D views in this project, but in this template, which is the let's say the template that I have opened, does not have any 3D view. So if I came here and click on 3D view, it will now create a 3D view. And also if I have created 3D view from camera, it will be added also here. So this is the 3D view that added here in the Revit file. As you see, 3D views, I have the 3D view. So automatically it will appear here, which is the 3D view. And also if I came and to level 1 or level any of these levels and came here to the 3D view tab bar and create any camera here, let's say this one, it will by default create a 3D view. Let's see in the 3D views we will have 3D view 1 and automatically it will be added here. So here you can choose any view you want to render. It is not important to, maybe you can be here on the level 1, but from Vray you can choose 3D view 1. It will take 3D view 1 and render it. So this is the first tab that you have. You have to choose the 3D view that you want to work on. The second tab is the render tab, and as we see, we have two sections here. The first section is the render production or the render. We have some options here. The first thing is the render production, which is the final render that we want to produce in Vray. The second one is the render interactive. So by default, the interactive is that interact with the render. So during work, maybe you can choose the render interactive, but you have to have some strong screen card here. Also to see the changes in the render if you change material or change anything. Here there is the start Vray Vision. In fact, it tells us that open the Vray Vision window and start a live season. And here render in Gauss Cloud. This is if you want to render using the Gauss Cloud, if you have account, and they will render your shots to you. And here connect to Gauss Vantage. Here in this workshop we will work on these two, which are the render production and the render interactive. In general, we use render interactive, I said, during the work, and if you are sure of everything, you can choose render production and produce your render shot as a final product. The second thing is the show hide frame buffer. We will talk about that to fix and to determine the dimension and to determine the modes after and before, the alternatives, everything. We can work on these and see what is the function of this frame buffer. We are now just looking at the sections of the Vray to be familiar with that. The third one, which is the quality here is low, and I recommend to you to use low during the work, and one by one, if you are sure about your render or your material, your lighting, you can choose medium, medium plus, high and high plus, as you want to produce the quality of your render shot. And as you know, by going here to high plus, we need more time, more pixels will be rendered, so be sure to choose the things that are suitable to you and that not take a lot of time. During work, I recommend to you to use the low and then see what will happen with you, because it will take a lot of time. For the resolution here, you can choose the resolution that you want for the pixels or the printer that you want, and the aspect ratio. For example, it is a crop region for the 3D view that you select, or square, picture, landscape, portrait, or on screen. By default will be crop region, so you can fix it as a crop region, and it will give you what are the crop regions for the 3D shot, 3D view 1 that you selected. By changing it, it will give you the other dimension of pixels. So it's not important. By clicking on the printer, you can change to, for example, millimeter, and as you see for the printer, it is by this dimension, and you can also increase the resolution from here to 300 dpi or 600 dpi or 150 dpi, or else as you want. So this is the resolution. I recommend to you that leave it as it, and then if you want to increase the resolution, you can play around it and have the desired resolution that you want. Now the fourth section here is the lighting, and they are very important here, which is the artificial lights and the Vray sun. In fact, Vray takes the artificial lights from Revit, and you can also power it on or off as you want. So this is for the interior shots, maybe, and also the night render shots. You can play around it and see the result. We can have a look in our workshop about these artificial lights. And for the Vray sun, if you click here, you can see the Vray sun or the dome light or no light. So by default it will be Vray sun, and you can control it in the setting and the properties of the Vray sun or the dome light or the no light. If I see here, there is a down arrow here. If we click on it, it is also the light gene or the light generation. If we click here, it will bend it here. If we click on the light gene, you can see that it will give us for update content file. Light gene needs to download some additional content from the Gauss servers to be fully function. This download will only be done once. The content will then be stored locally and reused for continuation. If you select continue, only existing assets will be used. So we will have a look on it in our workshop and see how it will work. If it is good, we can recommend it to you. For the assets, which is the, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The sixth part
or section of Vray, which is the most important thing, is the assets, about the material, assets manager and appearance manager, and Gauss Cosmos. We will have a look on it in depth in our workshop, which is the most important thing that we can work around it. Also, we have here place decal, on level, on face. We will have a look on it and how it works. And here is the camera and the exposure. We can control it from the setting and big focus point here. So we will have a look on it in our workshop. And here we have the settings that we will go to it, change some things and see how it works. It is the manager of all the things that we have here, such as the lighting and the materials especially. So in setting you can control all the things, such as the engine that you are used, is it from CPU, or if you have any other screen card you want to do. The sampler, is it if it is progressive or buckets, by default will be progressive. The global illumination, the interactive setting, the optimization, the geometry tessellation, and the autosave here in the renderer or the manager of the render. And also we have here the channels, the environment, the path and sharing, swarm, and here the licensing that we got from the Gauss group. So we will have a look on these also, how the change here will affect our render in Vray in this workshop. That's all for today. We have a look about all these components. We know how to enable Vray, and then we know what is this component referred to. So we are now ready to start working on Vray on a real project. See you in next tutorial. Bye. Hello again. Now let's go in depth with Vray for Revit. And in order to go in depth with Revit with Vray, we have to apply what we learned or what we got in the last videos on real projects. So I have this small project, and I have here a 3D view one, and I have here a 3D view one for this project. So let's try to learn now the render section here, and go in depth in these components and see what are the components here. So if I click here, you can see in the render production, I can see the render production, render interactive, start Vray vision, render in Gauss cloud, and connect to Gauss Vantage. We have talked about the production and interactive. So if I click on render interactive now, it will render the 3D view one, as you see here, in interactive mode, which means that changes on the material will remain on the render shot, and we can by this way accelerate, test the material, and so on. So by this way we have a render work here by low mode in quality, and we can now change anything in the material or lighting and re-render using the render interactive. It will save the settings and apply the changes on that. But we have also here the start Vray vision. So the start Vray vision is a real-time render, which means that we can change in Revit and the changes will be reflected on the render. So let's see how it works. So if I click now on start Vray Vision, it will give me now to real-time changes on this project. Let's discover that together. So it will now open the Vray Vision in order to show the real-time changes in Revit. So once you make change in Revit, it will make in the render. So this is a very useful tool that has been added recently to Vray. Let's see how it works. So as you see here, the Vray Vision was opened with a real-time rendering. So let's have an example how this works. For example, I have this roof here in Revit. So if I change, for example, anything or delete anything, it will be automatically deleted in the render. Or if I change any property, for example, this roof have a slope here which is 20 degree. If I came here and change this slope, for example 10 degree, and apply this, you can see now that the slope here will be changed, and also here in the Vray Vision will be changed automatically. So let's see now the process. So as you see here, once I change the slope of the roof here, it was changed here. And also you can do anything. For example, if I can select this tree and delete it, you can see that it will be automatically deleted in the real time. Hello again. In this part of the course, we will go in depth with the asset sections here. The asset section here includes three components that includes asset editor, appearance manager, and Gauss Cosmos. If I click here on the asset editor, you can see that I have some materials here, but these materials were imported from the Cosmos, which is the Gauss Cosmos. So now material will be not downloaded with the Vray. It will be in Cosmos library and you will download it. So if you haven't here anything, don't worry, you can go and browse material in Cosmos, and this is what is called Gauss Cosmos. Let's have a look on Gauss Cosmos first and then return back to the material asset. If I expand this, and let's see what here in the left side, we have the three models, we have materials, we have HDRI, which are related to the background and the lighting of the background, and the collections and creators. So you can now download anything about three models, which are included: furniture, accessories, lighting, vegetations, vehicles, people, animal, architecture, and anything you want. And every component of this, if I expand it, you can see much more options that you can download. Also for the material, the same idea here. So I have, for example, here brake. If I click on brake, you can see a lot of brakes. So you have to download what you need. In fact, I download most of things, so you have the opportunity to download all the assets to your asset manager or the asset editor here. So in that case, you can have all the assets here from the Gauss Cosmos, but you can download what you need also. So if you need, for example, a material, for example a concrete material, you can go to Cosmos and then to concrete, and then you can download once it was downloaded, you can click here and you have the opportunity to use the mapping, or you can click to off it. But if you need to map it, you can click here on the on button, and then you can import. Once imported, it will automatically go to the Vray asset, and the Vray asset editor will open automatically here. So this is the idea behind the Chaos Cosmos. Now let's have a look on this 3D view, and let's say that we want a tree here or some side component here. So we can go to Cosmos. Let's say this is the Cosmos, and we can go to 3D model. We can go also to vegetation, and under vegetation we have trees, indoor plants, shrubs, bushes, and flowers. So I want the trees. You can also download. If it's not downloaded, you can search what you want. I have downloaded one. Now maybe under here we can see what is was. I think I have one downloaded. So if you see something that you are interested in it, you can download it. Let's download some tree here, for example this one. So it will start now downloading this tree. After download, it will automatically reflect it to the 3D view that you have. So as you see, import here. We are waiting now, so it will direct us to the 3D view that we are working on. So as you see here, it said to me that assets progress is in progress, so you can place it anywhere you want in your 3D view or in your plan as you want, according to the view that you have. So let's have a look about these components. Click escape twice to have this. So I bought some trees here in my view. Let's render interactive render and see the changes on our 3D view. So as you see here, it will start now rendering our shots. Now as you see here, I put some materials here, and these are Vray materials. The idea behind the materials that you replace the Revit materials with the Vray materials. So the next step here is to use the asset editor and the appearance manager to replace these materials. I will now stop this rendering and try now to explain this procedure. So now I will close this Chaos Cosmos and try to work on the Vray assets, and I will go here to assets and click on the appearance manager. So what is the difference between the appearance manager and the Vray asset editor? Here you will have the Vray, the Revit materials that you have in your project, and here you will have the Vray materials that you are downloading from the Cosmos library. And if I click here on the side arrow here, I will have a preview for each material that I have with its properties such as reflection, refraction, the code, the bump, and much more. So now let's say that we want to change anything here in the Revit. In fact, let's say that we want to change this wood material to stone material. So I mean that Vray stone material. So you have now the opportunity to select by picking here on the surface. So if I click here and go to the Revit, it will give me that this is the default wall and this material is the V-Ray material. If I delete it, as you see here, and render that, you can see now that it will return back to Revit material, and then we can change it to another material. So this is the default material in Revit, which is maybe gypsum board or something like that. But now we want to assign Vray material to this Revit material. So the process here is easily you can open here and you can, let's say we want stone, so I have to click here and browse material in Cosmos, and also we will return back to Cosmos. I will go to material and search for some material such as stone, and now you can search for any material that you want. For example, let's take this one. Once imported, as we said before, the Vray asset editor will open. So this is the material, which is the stone. Let's have a look on it. It will be like that. Once here, let's close this. I can drag this to this material. So now the default wall, which is the component in Revit, will have the stone G 100 centimeter material, which is from Vray. And now if we want to change the scale of this material, which is the stone, we can select the default wall here, and you can see that we have width and height. So instead of 0.3 meter, maybe we can assign 1 meter and 1 meter, let's say, width and height. And by this way you can change the scale of this material for the width and height. Let's close this. If I close this, you can see that the scale of this material was changed to 1 meter width and 1 meter height. So this is one method to change the scale of the material directly from the Vray Appearance Manager. Or you can go to Stone G100, which is the material that we have assigned, in the Asset Editor, and you can select the picture here. As you see here, you can change the repeat UV, or you can change the offset UV, and you can by this way also control the scale of the material that you assign to the wall here, which is the stone G 100 centimeter. So you have two ways to change the scale or play with the properties for the height and the width, either from the Appearance Manager or from the Vray Asset Editor. It's belong to the material that you have chosen. So let's change, for example, also this wood roof to the same material. As we said before, we can pick here the roof, and let's also open the Asset Editor and assign this by dragging here to this one, and by default it will re-render in the interactive mode to have the same material here. And as you see, it will give 10 meter. I don't know why, but we can fix that also by changing to 1 meter and close this to have the same scale for the underwall and the roof also. So by this way we can change the property or the scale of the Vray material here in the appearance manager. The same as for the glass material, so that I can change the glass material. Here the glass material that I used, I assigned it to the Revit glass material, so this is a Vray glass material. I choose this black reflective glass in order to see and test the reflection for this material. So let's suppose that we want to go back to the Revit material. So what we have to do, we have to go to the asset editor and the appearance manager. Always we have to work with these two, and we talked before what is the difference between them. The appearance manager is to manage the material that we have in Revit and to replace it by the Vray material that we bring from the Vray asset editor. So if I want to choose another to return back, let's say to the glass material for Revit, and I don't know what is the glass, you can search for a glass here in the search bar, and you can see that I have two kinds of glass. But if you don't know, we have here the opportunity, as we said before, to pick a surface. So we can pick a surface here and go to the Revit project and pick, for example, this glass panel, and it will give me that we have these glass panels have these two types, which is the glass and the glass clear glazing. And if I want to go back, all that I have to do is to remove this and this from the appearance manager, and it will in the interactive mode return back to the glass material for Revit, which is transparent and not reflective. And also if I want to go back and assign a new Vray material for the glassing here, all I have to do is to go to the Vray asset editor and search for any glass material that I have here in the project. If I don't need, for example, I have here more glass material that I have imported previously from the Cosmos. If I am not interested in these, also I can go and open the material in Cosmos, go to glass, and then assign or import a new glass material, not collection. I have to go to material, go back down to the glass, and this is the one that I have previously. Let's say that we want this one, glass structured honeycomb, 20 centimeter, import, and it will be imported to the asset editor. I think it was here, yes, it was imported twice, so not important. We can drag and drop this to the material or the glass material that we have, and it will re-render that. As you see, it will give me another effect of the glass structure honeycomb here. Maybe you can choose and also play with the width and height, or go to the asset editor and play with the properties here for the reflection, the refraction, or the bump, or the any other properties as we used to change in the other render materials in Vray. So as you see here in the render, I have this effect, which is the honeycomb effect. Let's play with the, let's say, the width and height and see what is the difference if I make it much smaller, for example 0.01. maybe it will take time, and close this. It will re-render that. Let's wait to see the effect of this on the glass here. So I will accelerate the video to see the effect. So as you see here, this is the final effect of this glass. So of course we are here on the low. If we are in the quality of medium or high, you can see the effect much or better than that, but this is the final effect. And if I want to go back to the black glass, all I have to do is to go here to the asset editor and the appearance also. I think it is called glass yellow 001. So all I have to do is to drag this one here and this one here, and as you see in the render, you can see it will be go back to the glass, the black glass. So this is all for the material. Now we will talk about the material more and more in next lectures. That's all, and see you in the next tutorials. Goodbye. In this part of the course, we will talk about the lighting section here. So let's start see what are the lighting in the Vray for Revit. I have here the interactive render for this shot. So as you see here, we have seen that the shadow here, for example, is coming from left, from right to left, as you see. This means that we have a source of light, which is the Vray sun, and this sun is coming from the right side. Because of that, the shadow is coming to the left side. So the lighting here of the sun is related to the lighting of the sun from the Revit. So if I came here and go to sun setting, and for example said that the sunlight from top right, and apply this one, you can see that the interactive mode will be changed to this part that is the same, because we have talked that the sun in the top right, as you see. And I am here in the lighting, and we have an azimuth and altitude that determine the position of the sun in the sky. But if I came here to the sunlight from top left and apply this, it will re-render, and as you see, now the shadow in the opposite direction will be in the opposite direction, because the sun will be at the top left of this image or of the model. So the critical point here that the sun in the render is related to the sun in the Revit. And also the same, if I change, for example, to still, and change this, for example, to let's say at the noon, maybe 00, but not AM, PM, and apply the sun in the Revit. It also changed to give me the sun at this date and this location and this time will be like that, and this is the sun setting from Revit. And also if I change to AM, this means that we are in the night, and apply this. As you see, it gives us the correct position of the sun that it is will be in the night. So this will be a night rendering. So the critical point said that the sun settings here in the Vray is related to the sun setting in Revit. Let's change that to this one, which is lighting sunlight from top left and related to azimuth and altitude. So this is the first lighting source or the first lighting type in Vray. Now let's have a look to another type of lighting in Vray. So if I came here to lighting, we will see here the light gene that will generate various lighting scenarios that we can choose from. So let's see how it works. If I click here to the light gene, it will now open the light gene in a separate window, as you see here, and it is always checking for updates. So as you see here, we have two types of lighting, which is the exterior and interior to choose from. But because we have an exterior view, we have to choose exterior here. So this will be the exterior that we have, and here we have the opportunity to choose what is the altitude and the azimuth variations, how much or how many altitude we want to generate with how many azimuth we want to generate. So let's say to have the minimum, which is a 3 with a 3, and we can now generate the variation, which are 9, because we have 3 and 3. I have generated them previously, so and save them. So after generation we can save them. So I can now load them from here, and as you see, I have scenarios, which are 9 scenarios about the lighting. So if I double click here, for example, you can see now that in the interactive mode will adopt this lighting type, which is the azimuth and altitude in a certain point at the sky, and you can choose from them what is suitable for you, and then you can also save this to be used in the next rendering. This actually depends on the dome in the dome light here, because it is similar to HDR style or type of rendering that we will talk about it later. So you can choose now from these scenarios by double click on one of them. For example, this one. It will take the lighting settings from this generation, let's say, and apply it to our rendering. So this is the idea behind the Vray light gene, which is the abbreviation of generation. It will generate some scenarios that you can use as a lighting type in your rendering. And if you are desired for anyone, you can save it and use it in the next renderings and adopt it as a default rendering. So this is the basics of the V-Ray light generation. If you want to go back, you can reset and then generate another alternatives and scenarios for the altitude and azimuth. So as you see, if I increase the altitude variation, it will give me that they are 18 scenarios, and the same for the azimuth. It will increase the variations and the number of the scenarios. And you, after the generation, you can save it and load it to your project. Now let's have a look to another source of lighting that we can use also, which is the image-based lighting, HDR. Also, if you remember that in the last tutorial we talked about the Gauss Cosmos. In the Gauss Cosmos, if I now open it, we remember that we have a section for the HDR, and these HDRIs, if I click on them, it will give me some image-based lighting that depends on the lighting intensity and direction here depends on the image that was used. So here I have some images, HDR images and maps that can be used. So for example, I have this one that I have downloaded. If I click import, it will directly and automatically now import this image to the interactive mode and try to now have the setting here from this one and give it to the rendering. So this is the setting that depends on this image or this one. For example, if you are interested in one, you can download it as you see and use it just by clicking on import, and it will take this setting directly to the interactive mode and render the shot up depending on these settings. So this is the basics of the image-based lighting HDRI. This is another source of lighting in V-Ray, and always this one is depend on the dome light, not the V-Ray sunlight. So you have to change, but it directly will change to the dome light. So this one also can be used, and it's also one source for the light generation, because the light generation or the light gene that we have talked before depends on the HDRI images. The last type of lighting is the artificial lighting here. As you see, by default the artificial lights will be off here, but once I click on this icon or this ribbon, it will turn off any artificial light that was in the Revit here. So I change the glass here to see the effect. If I click here, it will now re-render in the interactive mode, and as you see, I have some effect of the artificial light that were in the project. So you have just to turn the artificial light on in order to have the effect of any artificial light in your project. So V-Ray will take the artificial lighting that were placed in Revit project and take them in account. in the rendering. So I will accelerate now to see the effect very well. So now as you see, the effect will be clear here for the artificial light, but it needs study about how to let's say distribute your light inside. I put them randomly just to have the basics of this one, which is the artificial light ribbon here that you can now click on it. If I click to turn them off, the effect here will be gone. In order to see also the effects more clearly, you have to go to setting, and now you have to go to the channels, and here we have light mix. I have to click it as a family type and then close this, and I have to render as a production to see the effect more and more clearly in the Vray rendering. So I will go now to close this and try to render as a production to see the effect of the light. Maybe it will take time. I will accelerate this process, and also then you can play with the image from the frame here. So as you see, the effect will be clearer here. More effect we have in the final render, which is the render production. So I will accelerate the process to see the effect now. And now as you can see, the effect will be clear here for the artificial light. And also we can come here, double click and play with the layers. For example, if you can see here, for the down arrow here, we can play with curves, color balance, hue saturation, white balance, exposure, and any of these. For example, if I click on exposure, I can play with the exposure if I want to make it brighter or darker here. And also for the highlight burn, you can play with this value for the contrast if you want to play after the final production. Now it's still rendering, which is 2%, but you can play with it after the rendering is over. So you have the ability to play also with the color balance if you want to make it more warmer or cooler, something like that. For the also the magenta green, you can play with that as you want. And also for the curves, you can play with the curves if you want. It will take time to load the curves now. So this is also one source of adjusting light here. So you can play with these properties in order to adjust your image colors, and also it affects the lighting. So this is all for lighting types in Vray. I wish that everything has been covered. Also, as we used the interactive mode previously in explaining the light, you can also use the Vray Vision in order to have the real-time lighting changes and choose what type of light you want to use in your project. See you in next tutorial. Goodbye.